Amazing. We are here. We are live for Testimony Monday.
It's Testimony Monday.
That's our theme
Testimony
music, y'all.
Monday.
That's our,
Testimony Monday.
let's go.
Come on.
We will allow you all to come in and join us in our moments
Yes, yes.
of gratitude and joy and
Mm-hmm.
thanksgiving and
Mm-hmm.
just peace. I have been
Amen.
looking forward to this all day and kind of in the beginning of my day, I was like, oh my goodness, it's Monday.
Mm-hmm.
It's giving me Monday vibes. It's
Mm-hmm.
giving me all the Monday energy. And
Mm-hmm.
then, I don't know, things changed. And I was like, oh, wait, it's Testimony Monday.
That's right.
I'm going to see my sister.
Yes.
We're going to transform lives. And it has to be Monday or else it's not Testimony Monday. So,
Mm-hmm.
Doc, Doc Walls,
That's
how
right.
are you doing today?
I am doing fabulous. Same thing.
Yay.
I had some things to take care of behind the scenes today. As you know, when you're an entrepreneur, there's always something to do.
Yes.
And it was just like I was looking forward to this conversation all day because this was
Yeah.
the one time to be on camera today, which is rare for me throughout the week. But today was that this was it. And I was like,
Yes.
all right, what a way to close out the night with the testimony Monday impacting people's lives in a positive way, and of course, hanging out with you and busting it up.
Let's go. I
Yes.
feel exactly the same. And I do love the fact that this is on Mondays
Mm-hmm.
because, and I know that you spend a lot of time, not just in the morning or the evening, constant communication with your higher
Mm-hmm.
power,
Okay.
right? To set the
Yep.
intention in every moment. And we know there's actually only one moment.
Mm-hmm.
The moment,
Mm-hmm.
quote unquote, before, it's literally the same moment.
That's right.
One hasn't happened yet. The one is already gone. We only have this moment. And so
Yes.
figuring out what that means and the power that we have in each moment
Mm-hmm.
to reset our intention and
Mm-hmm.
ground our intention. And
Mm-hmm.
so doing this on a Monday, since, from an American perspective and probably a global perspective, Monday begins things.
Yeah.
But, from my poetry from back in the day, until you take your last breath, you will always have time to return to your place of origin and begin again.
Again. That's right. A
Right.
villager speaks.
Let's go. Let's
If,
go. So
if
I feel
y'all
like
don't
this
know,
is the
get your
moment. Hi,
shine.
Regina.
Yes. Yes.
Welcome. So
Hey
glad to see
there.
you here. And so to do that with you and to help people really okay, we didn't do it first thing in the morning on Monday. We've
Mm-hmm.
all had, for the most part, I know there's some people joining us on the West Coast. You're still in the middle of your day, or you're just getting out.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, so
Mm-hmm.
it's a little past the 5 o'clock hour for you if you're on the West Coast.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take a breath.
Yeah.
Let's take a moment.
Yeah.
Take a moment to celebrate the fact that you are here, that you chose yourself, and you
Mm-hmm.
gave us the gift of sharing your time, talents, and treasures
Mm-hmm.
in this moment with us.
Mm-hmm.
That means you put yourself first. And so I just want to acknowledge that and just
Yeah. Yeah.
let's just take a breath.
Yeah. Let's take that. Let's just take that. Let's everybody just close your eyes for a moment if you're not driving. If you
Because, okay, right. I'm a lawyer. I
That's
need to put
right.
a disclaimer. I'm
That's
putting a
right.
disclaimer in here right now.
you know,
Absolutely.
let's just take that moment and let's inhale. And inhale through your nose and exhale through your mouth. And inhale through your nose and exhale through your mouth. And when you inhale through your nose, I want you to inhale all of those things that you want: peace, joy, prosperity, love, harmony. Just hold your breath for just a moment. One, two, three. And then exhale everything that you don't want: chaos and confusion and dis-ease. And then inhale again what you do want: love, calm, peace, wealth. And hold it. And then release through your mouth all the things that you don't want. And this time, inhale one more time everything that you do want. And this time, when you exhale, release everything that you don't want. And come on back into the space. And let's start to fill ourselves up. Come on.
Yes, yes. All right, because it's all about setting the right intentions
Mhm.
and clearing the space.
That's
Clearing
right.
the space. I love
That's
it. So let's start out this way. For those who don't know, this is the second Testimony Monday. We did this last week at noon on
right.
IG Live. Very
Hmm.
successful. We had a lot of great engagement, and that was fantastic. I
Hmm.
received a ton of comments that they love to watch the recording, and they
Okay.
wish that they had the time and space to engage at that hour.
Hmm.
Noon was great for Doc Walls and myself, but maybe it was 9 o'clock for you. Maybe you weren't on your lunch break yet. And so we wanted to create this opportunity and also to broadcast to multiple platforms. So
Hmm.
shout out to folks who are on YouTube, both on my channel at Advantage Evans. Hi,
Yes.
Brittany, and also for Doc Walls on Doc Walls' YouTube page,
Oh,
certainly on the
yeah.
Twitters as well, and on LinkedIn Live for the very first time.
Mm.
So I'm super excited. Like, we straight global. You
That's right.
understand?
That's right.
But for those who weren't with us last week, Doc Walls, why don't you break
Yes.
down some of the gems that we found ourselves giving and
Mm.
receiving last
Hmm.
week?
So much. So, one of the things that I definitely want to highlight is this importance of investing in yourself, right? And this conversation here, participating in completing the homework assignments that we do, because you're a professor, I'm a former professor, always a teacher, right?
Yes.
It's important that we do the work and understand that mindset matters. And one of the main things that we talked about last week was this idea of getting your mind right,
Right.
right? In order to understand that we want to move from momentary money to long money. We're
Come on.
talking about legacy money. We're talking about money that we physically won't see, but it will continue within the generations to come. And this is vital. And we have to shift our mindset from that, because so many times we're in this you only live once attitude. And it's like,
Right.
I'm going to spend it all and I'm not thinking about other people. But we can have the opportunity, if we just shift our mind, to provide for others who are not even here yet, as well as the little ones, like a little Borden that we know,
Let's
right?
go. Hashtag brand. That's my
Exactly.
business.
So we'd start to think about those. And even if you're at the quote unquote end of your line, there are still others that you love. There's organizations that you love. There's, commitments that you've made to works that you're doing that you want to see continue beyond past your physical existence.
Hmm.
And it's important for us to shift our minds into that, to understand that we can do that. And as people of color, there are a lot of things that we were not privy to. There was a lot of information that we weren't privy to. And so now we're in a space where basically we have all access to information, and you being one of the leading people in the world around cryptocurrency,
Hmm.
understanding what that is and understanding what money is. What is money? What is it that you value? And so we talked about how money has shifted from shells to gold to silver to
Yes.
coins to dollars to now this digital currency. And so it's constantly changing and evolving, and we understand what money is for us. And that was part of the homework assignment. Get clear on what money is for you. Is it a tool? Is it a resource? What is it affording you? Because here's the reality: we can acquire things without money.
Mm.
legally. I'm not talking about stealing stuff, right?
Right. Point of clarification.
Exactly.
Yes. Say
Right.
more.
So we have to understand it. As I said, I'm 3 generations in an entrepreneur. My grandfather was an entrepreneur. My father was an entrepreneur. I am as well. We receive pies. We receive cheese. We receive movies. We receive all types of things for payment.
Right.
We were cleaning out the house the other day, and there were cards created by a well-known artist and a note attached to it. And I
Mm.
laughed so hard because I was like, we just talked about this. And he's a very famous artist. And he said, Doc, I don't have money to pay you right now. Would you please receive these
Mm.
as payment for now? And when I do have money, I will pay you later.
Wow.
And I'm like, we just talked about, and these things are probably collector's items at this point.
Absolutely.
You know what I
After
mean?
the show, I'm gonna call you and figure out what this
Right.
is. I'm intrigued. Color me intrigued.
So we have to understand, what does money mean to us? What do we plan? What do we use it for? What is its purpose? And then we look at, what do we value,
Right.
right? And what are the sayings that we grew up with? Money is the root of all evil. First of all, it's not
Mm.
even the right statement,
Right.
right? So we got to see how those types of things have impacted us. Who have we seen with money growing up, and what behaviors do we associate with money?
Mhm.
And so these are beliefs that are guiding the way in which we choose to accumulate money or avoid money,
Right.
right?
And we don't even oftentimes it's not something that we are completely aware of.
Mm-hmm.
Most times it's not because we
Mm-mm.
move through this world just very disconnected from so much of what we do. So much about our body actually operates magnificently, for
Yes.
example, without our input.
Yes.
I'm breathing, my hands are doing what they're doing. I'm not actually telling them what to do. But
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
there's this magnificent intelligence going on.
Yep.
We have to, and we'll talk more about this as we go on tonight,
Mm-hmm.
even just the stillness and the solitude and getting quiet so that we can get clear,
Yes.
so that we can find our way to gratitude, which unleashes so much
Ooh,
of
yes.
the joy that we're entitled to that's just
Yes.
under the surface,
Yes.
waiting for us to pay attention, which is what you talked
Exactly.
about last week as well.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's so important, right? Because what we're talking about is, we're talking about living consciously
Mm,
instead of just moving automatically and unconsciously. Because even though we do breathe automatically, it doesn't mean that we breathe correctly,
mm, catch that.
right?
Catch
How
that.
many times
Hmm.
when people take a yoga class and they're taught how to breathe properly, it's a challenge, because many times it's not innate for us to breathe correctly. We have to take the time to consciously do it. That's the power of meditation. We're being
Hmm.
conscious about being still. We're being conscious about being mindful. And once we become conscious of these things, our whole lives begin to change, honestly, in an instant.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It makes me think of when in one of my former lives, not actual former lives, but like many years ago, as a
Mm-hmm.
professional tennis player, and before that on scholarship at Northwestern, the number one comment, and there were many, of how to really
Mm-hmm.
get myself centered to fully perform, to reach the full capacity of what my physical talents would do was to breathe.
Mm.
That evidently I was holding my breath.
Oh,
Didn't know it.
exactly.
Didn't know it.
Exactly. So many of my clients, that's one of the first things we do, is I work on them with breathing, because they are holding their breath. Because physiologically, we have to remember that our body just naturally responds to stress in a certain way. And many
Mhm.
times, holding your breath, constricting your breath, is one of those ways. And
Right.
so even when we talk about finances, when people talk about being in debt or owing money or wanting to acquire something that they see is financially beyond what they feel as though is their capabilities,
Mm.
they'll hold their breath.
Mm. Right.
And that's lack of circulation. And what do we know when we look at economies, if we look at Black Wall Street and
Mm.
things like that? How do economies grow? It's because there is the increase in circulation
Ooh,
of the dollar,
yes,
right? There's life to that dollar. When
right.
we increase our circulation of our breath, we're increasing the life within our body. We know that
Mm,
disease cannot exist at a certain oxygen level.
right,
So when we take the time to actually concentrate, focus consciously on breathing, there's so much, so many blocks that we can get out the way on
right.
purpose.
Absolutely. I want everybody to drop in the chat right now. Breathe,
Mhm.
breathe.
Mhm.
That and water can cure a
Girl,
multitude of sins.
girl. I was just watching the documentary on water today. You know, the what
Really?
is it? The living water, what is it? The Secret Life of Water.
Oh,
It's a
yeah.
book from years ago. And I was
Hmm.
watching that documentary and just doing it slowly
Mm,
and taking time to really reflect on what is being said there. So I'll get that
hmm.
in another day. But yes.
I love it because, as
Mhm.
Regina says, breathe. It brings life,
Yes.
um,
Yes.
and life more abundantly. I mean, since
Yes.
we're going there.
Yes.
All right, so that's a perfect recap from our last conversation, and it leads in so nicely to what we wanted to share with you all in conversation today. We're super chatty. We're watching the chat, so we definitely want you to engage with us. If you
Mhm.
haven't subscribed to the channel, if you're on YouTube, or followed us if you're on LinkedIn or Twitter, definitely do that now. We are growing and we are showing. And we want this is a conversation that we want to continue to grow.
Mhm.
This time in this episode, we wanted to um, piggyback on the last conversation to talk about things that were coming out in the chat. This idea of fear that prevents us from doing things, and so
Mhm.
many of our financial decisions are fear based.
Mhm.
Last time we talked about
Mhm.
the fear based nature of our decisions, both consciously and unconsciously, originating in a lot of the stories and lies, not stories, lies that we um, adopted either through nature or nurture
Mhm.
as young people that we carry forward. So,
Mhm.
having a conversation about fear based decisions, which Rachel Rogers would call broke ass decisions.
Right.
She hits, she wrote, "We should all be millionaires." I should have had that up tonight as well.
No,
I
that's
have
right.
Minda's book. I don't know if y'all can see it because I have a very tight shot, but we're always going to shout out folks who are sewing into us.
Yes.
Rachel Rogers, she wrote, "We should all be millionaires." Minda Harts wrote the memo, and also "You Are More Than Magic." So check those out. They're
Mm.
all about shifting from fear to faith,
Mhm.
by what other metric that means for you,
Mhm.
and these idea of fear-based versus faith-based money mindsets that block
Mm.
our blessings.
Mhm.
And then
Mhm.
we'll talk about why something that I've leaned into. Now, I'm an only child who lives alone, and I'm my own best friend. So it's kind of easy for me to lean in, but we're not meant to be outside of community with each other.
Yes.
But there are these moments of solitude that we can reinforce our own selves and our own understanding so that we can actually sow into other people and actually be in community with people around money, personally and
Mhm.
professionally. If we're
Mhm.
not well within ourselves, it makes no difference. We actually bring a toxic nature to that situation. And then from solitude to gratitude, grounding ourselves in
Mhm.
gratitude as a way of being very powerful money magnets. And we'll talk about
Mhm.
that. And then finally, we'll close out tonight in the hour that we're spending together the best investment that you can make before the end of 2022. I'm not giving any spoilers, no spoiler alerts, but we will share with you the best investment you can make before the end of 2022. And dare I say, before the end of this broadcast.
Hello.
Because by the end of this broadcast, and the hour, and the day, and the week, and the month, and the year, and we could
Yes.
go on,
Yes.
we want to be in a different place and space
100%.
There's many things that we can't control, but the things that we can control that we need to
Mm-hmm.
lean into so that we'll be the best version of ourselves so we attract the value and the abundance that we deserve. So that's
Mm-hmm.
in the time we have, we're going to just unpack all that.
Here we go.
I don't know what it
We can
might only
do
take 7 minutes because
it.
Doc Walls is on here. And she gets, I mean, she be living those messages. I don't know what we're going to do with the rest of the time. She's going to give it to you in the next 5 minutes. So I'm just going to sip my tea.
And then we're going to sip tea. That's what we're going to do.
Yes,
Look.
welcome, Josephine. So if you all are ready for this conversation and the
Yes.
gems that Doc Walls, like I'm here to amplify her excellence,
Amen.
put +1 in the chat and we'll know
Woo.
that you are ready to
Do, do,
go.
do,
Welcome to
do,
all the
do.
folks who are coming on now. We want to
Yes.
see some +1s so that we can
Yes.
virtually touch and agree.
Mm-hmm. I love that.
Excellent. So, Doc, so this
Yes.
first of the three things, this idea of fear-based versus
Mm-hmm.
faith-based.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to us about your understanding. Doc is well. Oh, we didn't even really
We,
introduce ourselves. We just jumped in.
we just jump. That's how we do.
Oh my
That's how
goodness.
we do. Stephanie
Let's
said, I'm
go,
here for it.
Stephanie. Let's
That's
go.
right. That's
Regina,
right.
she understands. Let's
Yes.
go.
Yes.
Love it. All right, quickly, I will
Quick
say, and
intro.
then Doc Walls, you will introduce yourself because
Go
we just
ahead.
hopped on and started loving
Hey,
on each other and you
let's
all.
go.
So let's go. I am a tenured professor at Penn State Dickinson Law School. I have a co-hire appointment at the Penn State Institute for Computational and Data Sciences. I'm an intellectual property and technology lawyer, and also a spoken word artist from back in the day. And your homework will be to find my original work, Find Your
Mm-hmm.
Own Shine.
Yes.
And so I'm a very balanced right and left brained person. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
crypto education and policy corporate trainer and
Mm-hmm.
advisor. I'm a host of the Tech Intersect podcast and the founder of Advantage Evans Academy at advantageevans.com. It's a carefully
Mm-hmm.
curated community of crypto education content. I am not a trader. I don't know anything about Forex. I'm not going to slide into your DMs and ask you for your money or your time. I am here to empower you to go out there and make good choices in the future of work,
Yes.
wealth, and creativity. So
Yes.
that's me.
Well
Doc,
said. All right, I'm gonna roll mine up real fast. I'm Dr. Kathleen Walls. I'm a doctor of clinical psychology and an educator at all times. And so I have been a former adjunct professor at various universities here as well as overseas in Ghana. I am an author of self-help books for adults and children, and I am
come on.
also the author of children's books, but they're really adult children's books. They're for everybody. The Adventures of Froggy T and Bunny. You never know
Come
what's
on,
going on.
Froggy and
Look,
Bunny.
okay.
Let's go.
So yes. So and I am a life educator. I am a student. I call myself a student teacher. I am constantly learning about life and I am constantly teaching about life.
Mm,
Okay, so I am in the process of developing my course in humanity for people. So, because there are so many things that we don't formally learn in life. And if we're not having conversations like this, you can go through life not knowing. And I don't think
mm,
that that's fair, right?
amen.
So this is why we're having these conversations tonight. We recognize, as Tanya said last week when we talked, this is how we talk. Y'all just happen
Literally
to
how we
right,
talk.
y'all just happen to be a part of it right now. All right. So we are here now to drop it. So it's so interesting because on my other live that I do on Wednesday nights, The Greatest Blueprint, we had a
Mm-hmm.
show that talked about love versus fear, right?
Mm,
And the importance of living based on love, letting love lead you versus fear leading you. So
right.
when you talk about faith based versus fear based, that is critical, right? Because if you are buying things and doing things out of fear, you are coming from a lack mindset. And when you move from a lack mindset, it moves you into a competitive mindset.
Mm,
All right. And now here's the thing with competition, it's not really about you doing or being your best, it's just about you being better than the other person.
right.
Right. So it's just enough. You never tap into the fullness of who you are. Versus if you're coming from an abundant mindset, then you're coming from a faith and a love mindset. That's very different. That's unlimited. when you look at it from that way. And here's the thing with faith. It's so interesting. My mother and I had a conversation the other night about faith. And it was a very different, we had very different understanding of it. So one of the things that I always recommend to people is that you level set. What do you mean by faith? And
Mm.
then let me say what I mean by faith so that we can make sure we're talking about the same thing. Because although we may speak the same language, it doesn't mean that we have the same understanding. All right.
So powerful.
So when you hear faith, what comes to your mind?
Drop some stuff in the chat. Some of your first reactions to what faith means
Mm-hmm.
to you. And I think certainly from a Christian point of view, and even from an agnostic point of view, this idea of moving ahead without having all the answers,
Mm. Mm-hmm.
right? By
Mm-hmm.
whatever metric you understand that to mean. If you come from a Christian faith, it will mean something specific, and doctrinally you can understand this idea and this concept of faith. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but understanding even at a macro level, not having all the who now I'm about to tell on myself, Doc.
Yes.
I'm a recovering perfectionist, and God ain't done with me yet.
Yes.
But to carefully curate my life
Yes.
and to know where I'm stepping before I step, that
Mm-hmm.
literally has taken many years and a lot of
Mm-hmm.
energy
Mm-hmm.
until I actually realized I didn't control as much as I thought I
Yes, you
did.
did.
And
Mm-hmm.
in my best sense, I see through the glass darkly,
Mm-hmm.
whatever metric that means. So this
Mm-hmm.
idea of it also for me aligns a bit with um, uh, trust.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason
Mm-hmm.
that I say trust, both of myself and my higher power, I call my
Yep.
high power God, call it whatever you want. This
Mm-hmm.
idea that I'm going to be okay regardless because I've survived
Mm-hmm.
100% of my
Mm-hmm.
worst days.
Mm-hmm.
And also to trust myself that when I have new information, I can make a new decision.
Mm-hmm.
This aligns nicely to what Regina has in the chat as well, this
Mm-hmm.
idea of faith as an invisible future
Mm-hmm.
that I'm willing to commit to because I believe that regardless, that once I have new information, I can pivot, make a new decision. I'm still going
Mm-hmm.
to be okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the thoughts on that?
Yeah, so many. First of all, I love the fact that you said I have survived 100% of my worst days.
Come on.
I think if most people would just touch and sit in that space for a
Mm,
moment, right? That you've gotten to this point. Let's take a look. Brittany said, well, it's interesting. Faith for me is trusting my first instinct and trusting in the process, simply speaking.
mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
yeah.
Beautiful. And
One
we
of
have
my,
another that says
oh,
faith is our ability and willingness to connect in confidence to
mm,
the unseen.
mm,
Beautiful
mm.
resonation. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That should
connecting
be free.
confidence. I had it. I had to get it. It did
Limited.
something, right? I got to know who this. It says LinkedIn user. I need to know who that is so I can call them out. They're coming up LU,
Tambourine person.
right?
Yes.
So,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
right. Willingness to connect in confidence to the unseen. And
Mm,
so, as you were talking and giving your definition, some words that came up for me, as you mentioned, trust. It's
mm,
also knowing. And I'm a big advocate of knowing versus believing.
mm.
See, because for me, when I think of believing, there's still room for doubt,
Oof.
right? But when I know what I know, can't nobody tell me nothing.
Mm,
So it's this idea of knowing. It is that faith that says, as you talked about the unseen, Regina talked about faith is the invisible future. It's that knowing that I am going to be provided for. It's that knowing that the desires of my heart are going to manifest. It's that knowing that I will be led to do whatever it is that I am to do, that every step, every plank, everything that I need in order to move forward will be provided when it is supposed to be provided,
mm.
right? Because I know that the processor, capital P,
Right.
is in charge of the process.
Go.
So I trust the processor, so I trust the process.
Yes, yes. Whew. Now, how do people? So this it has me all in my feels in a
Yes,
good way.
yes.
For those who hear intellectually
Mm-hmm.
those words, but find
Mm-hmm.
it difficult to navigate to that space, and it may
Yeah.
align with our conversation about solitude and gratitude. How do
Yes.
people get
Yeah.
bridge the divide between fear-based and faith-based?
Yeah. So here we go. All right. If you have not gotten them already, please make sure you have your pen and piece
Let's
of
go.
paper.
We're
All
going to work,
right.
people. Let's
Because
go.
it's time to go to work. I got work to do. I got work, baby.
Yes. Oh, wait a minute. We didn't pay for all that. Wait a minute. I'm an
Okay, my
intellectual
bad.
property lawyer.
Okay, here we go.
We got about
If it's
five
too
seconds, and then I'm
long,
gonna get a
is it
call.
5? Okay, my bad. All right, thank you. So good to have you on the team. All right.
Sorry, Vanessa.
All right,
Sorry,
no problem.
we didn't know
We do not own the rights to this music. So,
exactly.
all right. So, how do we do that? First things first is we have to understand that things happen for us, not to us.
Mm,
So, when you ask yourself, why is this happening for me? It puts you in a place of empowerment versus a victim stance. All right. It puts you in an action space rather than a reactive space. So when you do that, it pulls that stress level down. So you're able to move into a critically thinking analytical space as opposed to a primitive reactive space.
mm-hmm.
So again, why is this happening for me? Now, when we understand that part of our life process is to develop our person, to develop our character. And these are qualities and characteristics like perseverance and diligence and trust and vulnerability, right? When we understand that these are aspects of the human walk,
Yes.
then we understand that, hey, I got denied this. So now I'm learning how to deal with disappointment in a healthy and productive manner.
Yes.
Oh, this was delayed. So I'm learning how to delay gratification. And what do I develop in the meantime?
Mm-hmm.
Because it doesn't mean that you stop doing the work, right? When I'm on the court, both of us play basketball. If the ball's not in my hand, do I go sit on the bench?
Right.
I'm still in the game.
Right.
I'm still monitoring the play, and I'm still a part of the process. And then when the ball comes my way, this is the faith without works is dead. I trust
Mm,
that I am a part of this team. I am a part of this game. So that's the faith part. I'm on the
right.
court. I'm in it. Now, when the ball gets passed to me, then I have a job to do.
Mm,
All right. There's 5 people on the court. There's only one ball. Or 10 people, 5 people on my team, 5 on the other, one ball.
mm,
9 of us have something to do while the other person has the ball.
right.
But I have to be ready for when that ball is passed to me or in my direction. So you stay ready. You're
Let's go.
constantly. So when you start to think about it, equate it to what makes sense to you. As I said, we're former ballers, so we get it. All right. If you're used to being in the classroom, you don't wait until the test, at least you shouldn't, to pick up a book to start to study.
Mm,
You've been reading all along, you've been doing your work all along. So we have many examples in life where we have faith in action.
yeah.
You're reading the assignments because you're trusting that when you get called on, you're going to know the answer because you've been preparing for that moment. It's the same thing. So faith is something that we have. It is a muscle that we have to work. And whatever the challenges are while we're waiting for whatever we're waiting for,
Mm-hmm.
that's what we need to be working on.
Come on. Let's virtually touch and agree. Let's virtually plus one. Virtually touch and agree. If you're on the phone and you can do some type of emoji. I don't know. I just I that is That is absolutely a word. And I think that's helping a lot of people to um, give themselves permission. Give yourself permission
Mm-hmm.
to see things differently.
Yeah.
Now, also be advised that when you start to change, it impacts those who are closely aligned with you.
Yes.
Not everybody's ready to change.
That's right.
Not everybody's ready to change.
That's right.
But if you set your intention,
Mm-hmm.
that's the seed that's planted. Everything doesn't change miraculously when the seed is planted. And in fact, when the seed is planted, it's underground
Talk about it.
and the roots actually go down
Yes.
before you see life
Yes.
push through the dirt and reach for the sun.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If you have been with child before, there's a whole bunch going on
Mm-hmm.
before we see that blessed arrival.
That's right.
But a lot is going on. Trust the process and know that you can't take everyone with you, but this is your
Mm-hmm.
divine assignment.
Yes.
This is your divine assignment to
Yes.
use what you have, your talents, gifts, and skills,
Mm-hmm.
your time, your talents,
Mm-hmm.
and your treasures
Mm-hmm.
for the full and ultimate growth and development. The
Yes.
other things that, they're going to come. The process is really the point,
Yeah.
but it can actually lead you. I want you to challenge, and we'll move to solitude and gratitude, Doc.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking that too.
Yes, that the idea that that in order to, you can't have good money when you do good work,
Mm.
and a lot of
That don't
people
even
carry
sound
it,
right to me.
right? Like if you do good work, you have to be a pauper, you have to be a
Right.
starving artist,
Right. That's right up
right?
there with that stupid statement. I shouldn't say that word stupid, but I consider it
That's right.
that
It's
statement
a
that
scripture
says,
definition.
you want your cake and you want to eat it too. Yepers, it's my cake.
Your cake.
My cake.
I'm pretty sure I'm supposed to eat it too.
Pretty sure.
So, but people struggle with that. So oftentimes we have to disconnect from a lot of the noise and confusion of the
Yes.
world to get still.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's why I put solitude and gratitude on the
Hmm.
list before we can even get to this idea of
Yeah.
really attracting and leaning into the wealth and the abundance that we are. It's our birthright to enjoy today and every day. I
Oh,
talk about the future of work and
yes.
wealth and creativity. We
Yes.
can't get there if we don't get this right. So talk to me
Yes.
about the role that solitude and gratitude have in attracting
Ooh.
abundance.
Yeah, I mean, just so much. One of the things I want to say about solitude as we transition from that fear based and faith based, when we are still and quiet, and we know the infamous scripture, be still and know that I am God, right?
Mhm.
As you talked about, getting rid of the distractions, cutting off the television, cutting off the phone, cutting off the notifications, cutting off whatever it is you need so that you can tap in to self, right? And go inward and listen to your inner wisdom rise up inside of you. It's very clear. One of the prosperity secrets is this idea of let there be
Mm.
dot dot dot. If you go back to the creation story, what does he say? Let there be.
Mm.
And then he finishes the sentence. How many times do we decree something and actually start with let there be? I challenge you. Go from now until the end of the year. Do 40 days of let there be's and see what manifests. Write them down so that you can take note of what has come to pass. I started with my let there be's. Within 3 days, things started already manifesting their self. Okay. So be still. What is it that you are truly desiring? And understand that when there's delay, quote unquote, that many times there's also a shifting of your heart and your mind. It's getting you in alignment with you. That's
Mm.
the quiet time. You getting in alignment with you. You getting in alignment with your divine design. You getting back on track with what are your true desires of your heart. Not what society says that they are, but what God implanted in you. You seeing, as you talked about that seed, that needs to be nurtured, that needs to be watered, that needs time and attention, that needs light shown
Mm.
upon it. That quiet time also allows you to do the toil and labor, to see where weeds have begun to grow, to choke out the seeds that were planted, to see the dirt that needs to be cleared away, to see the ground that is no longer fertile, and where you may need to uproot those seeds, meaning yourself,
Mm.
and put yourself in a bigger pot, plant yourself in a different space. How many times have we talked about throughout our careers where we had to replant ourselves
Right.
because we had grown out of the space that we were in? And if we had stayed in the space, it would have killed us
Right.
emotionally, mentally, physically, right? So we have to, so it is so important that solitude is critical to our survival. All right. Yes. And sometimes we need to prune. And what does prune mean? Cut back. I've been
Amen.
cutting back for the past 10 days. I've been
Same.
I've been
Say nothing
off
less.
the grid. If it wasn't for you, wouldn't nobody see me today. Okay.
No, that's right.
So
Grateful. That's
sometimes
gratitude. I got
that's right.
gratitude on that.
That's right. And now here's the thing with gratitude, which is so,
Mm.
so powerful, right? Gratitude is a mindset that leads to a feeling of
Mm.
thankfulness. Gratitude is a mindset that leads to a feeling of thankfulness. So we talk about that mind body connection. Now, Pete, this, we are at least 70% water. When we put the vibration of gratefulness and thankfulness into our cells, into our body, that water flows, circulates through our system.
Mm.
And it remembers. And remember, we talked about circulation and the importance of circulation. And if we're not circulating positive things like gratitude, then we end up circulating negative things. And when we talk about negative, stagnant water, what do we know about stagnant water? It stank.
That part is very clinical. Stank.
Stank. Right. And there's nothing healthy about stanky water, right?
I think we can all agree on that.
I think
I think we
we
can
can.
all agree.
That's right.
Right.
So right, this gratefulness is incredible. And so when you do, again, right, it's that magnetizing piece of it. So if we even think about just H2O, right? We got the positive and the negative ions, and then they connect with each other. And it's amazing when we stop and we look at this. All right. So we have to be sure that we are shifting consciously our mindset to gratefulness. And there's always something to be grateful about. You know, the
Hmm.
other day I woke up and I wasn't feeling so great.
Hmm.
And I was like, come on, Kat. Like you already know. Like, come
You're the
on.
greatest.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like, what's up with this?
Right.
And so I stood in the sun, right? The
Mm.
energy of the sun. And I just repeated, raise your vibration, raise your
Mm.
vibration, raise your vibration. And I let it shine on my first eye. I know some people call it your third, but if you're leading with spirit, it's your first.
Well.
Okay,
Ooh.
here we go. Right.
Oh, I wasn't expecting that one.
I
Oh,
know,
that
let me
hit
just
me.
slide it in. Right. So, when we lead with spirit, we lead with our first eye, we lead with our spiritual eye. These are our physical eyes, we lead with those second. Okay.
Mm.
And that's part of it. Part of the world has it twisted. It has us leading with our physical first and has us leading with our spirit third. Mm-mm. No, no, no. Let's flip the script. So
Mm.
now, and then just raising my vibration and being very intentional about it and calling it forward within 3 to 5 minutes, I was on overflow. I could feel the shift in my energy. I had enough, more than enough to give my clients. And 2, 3 hours later, as I felt myself dipping again, I just got up, I stood back in the sun again, and I called forth again, raise my vibration, because we have power and dominion over all things, which means we have power
Mm-hmm.
and dominion over our energy, which means that we tell our energy what to do.
Mm. Words
Okay.
are so powerful,
Yes.
and it makes me think of some work that I was doing this to begin this week with I am statements.
Mm-hmm.
I know the power of the written and spoken and unspoken word,
Yes.
and I was challenged. I had to hear myself.
Mm-hmm.
That it was something I said like I am tired. It was like, oh, but that was a bit of a
That's right.
dire rest,
That's right.
but I'm far from tired. Tired,
That's
God.
right. That's right. That's
Far
right.
from tired.
That's
Yes,
right.
but I do desire rest, and I
Yes.
got it, and I
Yes.
felt amazing. And the shift in language also frees us from this. And I'll speak from my own experience that I can inject myself into places and spaces, and we'll shift a little bit to finances now as
Mm-hmm.
well, where I
Mm-hmm.
take on responsibility for things
Mm-hmm.
that actually no one asked me to do.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
somehow I have inserted myself because I am in charge of all the
I
things.
can do this.
And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
nobody asked you to do that.
That's right.
And now you're upset because X, Y, and Z. Like,
Mm-hmm.
let's reframe what it means to show up,
Yes.
and tying it into solitude and gratitude to be
Mm-hmm.
grateful.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime I fall into a spirit of others aren't valuing me,
Mm-hmm.
I have learned through my own work that that is my projection.
Yep.
And I've often inserted myself into the process where no one invited me, but
Right.
I thought I was the king of all things.
Right.
And so that's really important as we also shift to finances and how we order our finances,
Mm-hmm.
and why the stillness leads to the space
Mm-hmm.
for gratitude for wherever we are. It may
Mm-hmm.
not be where you want to go, but it's better
Mm-hmm.
than and oftentimes where we were. And if it's
Mm-hmm.
not, until we take our last breath, we always have time to return to our place of origin and begin again.
That's right. That's one thing GPS taught you.
Come on.
Rerouting. Rerouting.
Mine is rude. It's like, you missed your exit.
Okay,
I
girl, ain't
know.
nobody tell you to go that way. What's wrong with you? Back that thing up
Gave
and
you the
flip it around.
instructions.
Right.
Right. Remember
So,
I told you? Right.
right, so if we take that again, right, be still. And this is the power of being still. If you think about like an elliptical machine, right? It
Mm,
goes in one direction. And as you're going, it picks up momentum. But in order to change the direction, you have to slow all the way down.
mm,
You got to come to a stop, or you're going to blow your knees out.
come on.
And then you can start picking up and going in the other direction. So at any point that you need to stop, stop.
Mm,
And now, if you make it a habit where each day, whether you do it once a day or several times throughout the day, where you check in with self, right? Check in. This is as above, so below, right? That's
mm,
the cross, as right. We're checking in, highest self, checking in with God. Are we in alignment? Over here, we're doing the work on the plane, right? So we have to sometimes stop. Am I headed in the right direction?
right.
Am I living according to my divine design? Am I spending money the way that I am instructed to spend it? Am I being a good steward of what
Mm,
has been given to me? That is my time. That is my body. That is my energy. Those are my words. The way that I'm thinking, right? My talents, my gifts. Am I being a good steward of these things? Where do I need to make the necessary adjustments? Am I spending time in spaces that are giving me life or depleting my life? Am I spending time with people who are enhancing me, or are they taking away from me?
yeah.
Right? You have to make the necessary adjustments. You are in charge of you. And it will be made clear. You ask this question as I'm even saying it now. There are some
Mm.
people saying, I need to let that go.
I know you're saying it because I was making a few notes myself. If you don't even have to tell us what it is, but if,
Yes.
as Dr. Walls was speaking, if you were like, you know what, I need to let this people, place, or thing go,
Mm-hmm.
just drop a +2 in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna put one in there now because we're gonna touch and
Organization,
agree on that.
club, any of those things.
Yes,
Something, right? Some things have
something's got to
out.
go.
some- It's got to go. It's beyond, right? It's
Mhm.
beyond the time that you knew you needed to let it go. And it's
Mhm.
okay to let it go. And here's the thing, when you are holding on to something, and this can be money too, when you are holding on to money that is allocated to go somewhere else and you have
Mm,
not released it, it will leave.
that part.
All right. So, and sometimes people have a problem. Yes, letting go feels so good, right?
Mhm.
Sometimes people have, not all the twos. Okay.
Come on, twos.
All
Oh, I
right,
feel some
twos.
numerology
I
energy
was
from
like,
that.
you know, I
Yes.
do. I was like, that's four, five,
Five,
twos. What am I
twos.
counting? Five
Wait a
twos.
minute.
All right, 10, 10, bring
Let's
it back
go.
down to one. So, yes.
Ooh.
So, when you have to let it go in order for something else to come into that space. If
Mhm.
you have something sitting in that space, that which is waiting for you, which is greater for you,
Yes.
cannot get in that space. So you have to release it. You say thank you for it. Thank you for what it's brought you. Thank you for the time that you've spent with it. You appreciate it. And then you say, okay, now release.
Mhm.
All right. And on to the next one. Ephesians 3, verse 20. God does it better than you could ever think, dare to dream, or imagine.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
So as we shift into our life work for
Yes.
these the final 9 minutes that we
Mm-hmm.
have, I think we have set a really excellent foundation
Mm-hmm.
for what are the steps, particularly at the end of the year, that we can all do now that we know that we can sit with and begin to identify in what areas of my life, particularly
Mm-hmm.
for purposes of this conversation, as it
Mm-hmm.
relates to abundance and wealth.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
think of it as money as the tool, as we talked about last time.
Mm-hmm.
But we also identified last time that value is bigger than money, but money
Yes.
is one of the more important tools.
Yes.
And what I've been working with my students and the members of my club at Advantage Evans on is trusting ourselves
Mm-hmm.
when we have been indoctrinated not to teach, not to trust ourselves
Mm-hmm.
with
Mm-hmm.
probably the three most important things um, on the planet:
Mm-hmm.
water,
Mm-hmm.
food,
Mm-hmm.
and money.
Mm-hmm.
And if we sit and reflect on all the times that we trust other people with our water, food, and money, and
Mm-hmm.
actually how difficult it is for, or how shall I say it, the systems in place that constantly remind us that they don't want us to rely on ourselves for our
Mm-hmm.
food, our water, and our money,
Mm-hmm.
the tools for survival
Mm-hmm.
on this earthly plane.
Mm-hmm.
Then we
Mm-hmm.
really have to start challenging that and figure out,
Mm-hmm.
okay, how can I reorder my life for
Mm-hmm.
purposes of our conversation when we think about money? In what ways have we leaned into fear? In what ways have we
Yeah.
trusted other people over ourselves in
Yeah.
our own, whether it's home, family, business,
Yeah.
that other people are um, better at um, managing our money,
Mm-hmm.
our time, our
Like everything.
resources,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you're trading time for money right now, if you're working for somebody else.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So let's start to do that work that leads us into the final conversation that
Yeah.
is around the best investment you can make before the end of this conversation, let alone
Yes.
2022.
Yes.
I'll give you my take on it. Doc is going to give you her
Yeah.
take, and then let's
Yeah.
engage in the chat as well. The best investment.
Mm-hmm.
I know y'all thought I was going to. Is it Apple? Is it
Is it,
Bitcoin?
it's Advances Evans. Advances
Right?
Evans.
Is it a home?
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's going to be in you and in your and Doc, you're going to help me with the language here. But
Yes.
as we have this shift in our energy, our focus, and our intention to
Yes.
trust ourselves. so that we are prepared for the future of
Mhm.
work, wealth, and creativity,
Mhm.
that we speak the language, that we lean into things that we don't understand with intellectual
Mhm.
curiosity. You don't have to buy a thing. But if
Mhm.
you're sitting on the sidelines of investing in traditional assets or in digital assets, all of that comes down to education
Mhm.
so that you are aligned to make more informed choices that empowers you to be the head,
Mhm.
the co creator of your
Mhm.
time on this earth. So that's
Mhm.
my take on it.
Ooh, oh, you just gonna lay it like that? That's what you gonna do?
That's what I was thinking about.
Okay, okay.
Right.
So a couple things. Last week you had talked about, and for anybody who missed last week's show,
Mm,
definitely go to our Instagram channels, IP Prof Evans, as well as Ask Dr. Walls, and you can watch the replay because one of the terms that you used last week was self custody. And that's what you're talking about now, this idea of self custody, being responsible for self. And, I thought about this idea of custody and custodian, right? Cleaning up your stuff. And some of us have been in charge of cleaning up other people's stuff too. All right. But we do what we do. And so we clean it up and we keep it moving. And this is part of the energy, the focus, the intention. I'm glad that you added time onto trusting, right? Trusting food, trusting water, trusting money, trusting time, that you know how to spend your time. And this is
hmm
very important. You talked about work, wealth, and creativity. That's huge. If people are unfamiliar with the wellness wheel, they take a look at that. There's different ones. There's one that I like that actually highlights 9 areas of life. So, like when people are talking about work life balance, many times they're thinking about a dichotomous reality, but it's not dichotomous because life has at least 9 facets that we're focused on: physical, emotional, academic, career, social, creative, spiritual, environmental, financial, and intellectual, right? When we look at the holistic parts of life, these are things that we have to make sure that we're pouring into ourselves to make sure that we're thriving. So I bring that up because at the end of 2022, where it was all about you, 2023 is all about me. So if you
Come
look
on.
at
Wait a minute. Just glaze over that. Whew. All right, go ahead. I'm
all
sorry.
right. So now, if we understand that 2023 is all about me, and this is what I call the platinum rule, right? The golden rule is do unto others as you would have them do unto you. The
Mm.
platinum rule is do unto yourself as you do unto others.
Come on.
Okay, that's my platinum rule. Jesus had the golden rule. I'm calling platinum. Come on, IP Pro,
Let's
help
go.
me out. All right, so
Come on.
that's it. So now, if we do unto ourselves, we provide for ourselves, we invest in ourselves, the way that we invest in other people, my goodness gracious. If we took the advice that we give to others and apply it to ourselves,
Mm.
come on, we're all leveling up at this point. And that's why I say 2023 is all about me. And each person say that about you. I'm not saying you gotta say it's me. Say it for yourself.
Say it for
20,
yourself. Say it in the chat right
that's
now.
right. 2023 is
2023.
all about me.
And that's going to be difficult for some people. I mean, not if you're a Leo, but like all
Right.
the other people, if you're not a fire sign, it might be challenging, but I implore you to try.
But
Drop it in the chat right now.
there
I
we
double
go.
dog dare you. Go
2020.
ahead. I'm sorry.
Guess what? Put it in there. So it's important that we recognize that, right? We're looking at the reciprocity of the
Mm,
relationship. We're looking at the power of exchange. Pastor McCarter talked about the power of exchange in 2005 when I was down in Mississippi. And it was just, you give, you get, you give, you get. It's the law of correspondence, right? We cannot have this uneven space, even in a relationship. What do we talk about? Being evenly yoked. How
yeah.
many of your relationships are you evenly yoked? in your
Yeah.
work relationship, in your friendships, in your family relationships. There's this imbalance that's there. And so you're wondering why some things aren't working out. It's because you're not balanced. And so at the end of 2022, let's take time to level set. Let's take what I call honest inventory about
Mm,
where we honestly are. How are we honestly feeling about things? What are we honestly thinking about things? We have to get aware of this. Once we're aware of it, and you got to write it down. Don't hold it in your brain. You can have the best conversations with yourself in your brain and never move past that one conversation. But when you write it down, you can see what you're honestly thinking about. And you can
yes.
see what are the changes that you want to make. And you can see what are the investments that you need to make. So, as we're coming now to the last 3, 4 weeks of this month, as we get ready
Mm,
to cross over into the new year, we're moving into a full moon on Wednesday. A full moon is like a big mirror. So, you can take a moment and honestly sit and look at what are you dealing with so that
mm,
you can make the necessary changes going forward. It's not going to change if you just thinking about it because, if you don't know the book of James, he said faith without works is dead.
right. 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 Right.
Okay? So you have to do the work, but you got to get clear on what the work is first. This is why
Mm-hmm.
you have to write it down. So what do you want to work on? You want to work on your finances? Well, get what about your finances? You want to pay off your debt? Do you know how much debt that you have?
Right.
Or if I rolled up on you on the street, can you tell me down to the penny how much money you need to pay it off? That's one thing Della Reese taught us. What is that?
Yes.
Almost 20 years ago at this point,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
When she said, if somebody rolled up on you and asked you, how much do you need? I went home that afternoon and well, back to the hotel that afternoon and calculated. I said, I'm not going to get caught out there again
Because Miss Della told us.
because Ms. Della done told us, right?
Yes, she did.
And she wasn't gonna come around that corner and be like, Kathleen, how much money you need? Be like, oh, I don't know. No,
Right.
I know how much I need. Okay.
Right.
So it is important that you are clear what it is that you want to work on. If
Mm-hmm.
it's your body, do you need to hire a nutritionist? Do you need to talk to one? Do you need to hire a trainer? Do you need to look at your schedule and see where you can fit in your workouts? You have to create your goals and then
Mm-hmm.
create an action plan for yourself. This is for your health, this is for your wealth, and this is for your overall well being.
Perfection. This is a perfect way to come to the close. I was challenged with my own business coach, one of the business coaches I work with this week or last week. Know your numbers. I'm actually not allowed to get on a call if I don't know the numbers, and I still have to pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like to
Mm-hmm.
waste money.
That's
Know
right.
your numbers physically,
Yep.
fiscally.
Yes.
Like, so what is the one clarity is where we are. Drop one word in the chat before we say some closing remarks and close out of what one thing you are going to invest in around getting clear. We have clarity,
Mm-hmm.
accountability. Maybe you need
Mm-hmm.
an accountability partner.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the word is just start.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe your word is breathe. What
Mm-hmm.
word is intuitively coming to you at the end that can be a reasonable um, action item, your call to action,
Mm-hmm.
so that when we come together again and we have this conversation again, you're able to come to Testimony Monday with your praise report.
That's right.
In fact, Doc, I feel like we need to start doing praise reports and prayer requests,
Mm-hmm.
right? Around your
Yes.
money.
Yes.
So thinking about those two things, but if there's one word that defines the action that you're willing to commit to, it might
Yes.
be educate,
Mm-hmm.
right? Doc and I both have different ways to support you in that. She'll tell you in
Mm-hmm.
a moment. I have
Mm-hmm.
a suite of courses and clubs to
Mm-hmm.
support you at various ranges. I have a free podcast. Definitely,
Mm-hmm.
I've pinned our websites. Please go there, find
Mm-hmm.
what you need. Shout out to Regina. We're going to give you a tambourine shout for
Mm-hmm.
accountability.
Mm-hmm.
Drop your word. Anybody drop your word in the chat. Let's support each other because we are growing this community so that we
Mm-hmm.
can all lean into something. the best investment that you can make before the end of 2022. And at
Mm-hmm.
the end of this conversation, we're wrapping up in about 90 seconds,
Mm-hmm.
is to invest in you. This is time to take stock of education, the
Yes.
opportunity to see things differently,
Yes.
elevate,
Yes.
shift.
Yes.
Beautiful,
Yes.
beautiful. Doc, take us out.
Yes, definitely. This is transformation time, right? And this is transmutation time. So it is time to shift and elevate and move to the next level. Know that you are capable. Know that you are worthy. Know that accountability partners can show up in people you least suspect. So don't be disappointed if you reach out to one person and that's not
Mm,
who it is. All right. You'll never know unless you ask. So ask different people. Trust, intuition is another one that comes to me that
mm,
many people need to start to pay attention and strengthen their intuition. It is a muscle. The more you work on all of these things, shifting, elevating, seeing things from a different angle, remember there's 360 degrees to every situation. When
mm.
you feel stuck in one space, know that there's 359 other ways at least to see it. All right.
Powerful, powerful. I'm at advantageevans.com and I'm on Twitter and Instagram at ipprofevans.com. Doc Walls is at Ask Dr. Walls, drwalls.com, and also Ask Dr. Walls on social medias. We love you and we thank you. And if you love this, please subscribe to our channels and our
Mhm.
social media outlets. Tell 10 of your closest friends to join us.
Yes,
There's strength in numbers.
yes,
And we want to keep this good energy going because
yes.
we're rooting for everybody.
That's right.
All right. So, what would Issa Rae do? See you there.
And so I offer up this prayer for everyone, God. We just
Yes.
ask you to come into each of our lives and provide us with what we need, God, in the way that we need it. You know our hearts, you know our desires, for you planted the seeds. God, provide us with the water and the nurturing that only you can provide in each of us. Remove all fear and replace it with your love, your faith, and your knowing. We ask all these things in your loving name. Amen.
Amen. All right. We'll see you on the next Testimony Monday. We love you. We thank you. Give us a check. We'll have some music next time. We're gonna work on our we're gonna work on our music. But we thank you. All right. And use hashtag Testimony Monday to share your thoughts on all your social media outlets. And we'll see you next time. Thanks, Doc.
Bye.